Thanks for joining me on About Alberta Tech, which is focused on introducing Alberta tech companies to Albertans. Our goal is to share the innovation and diversity that exists in this province in quick bites. My name is Lenora Thomas, and today I'm joined by Jonathan, founder of Agriolabs. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start with some background on you. How did you get into tech?
I've just always been into tech. My father, my late father, who has always been an engineer. So like I hear these stories from my mom, but like even when I was like 5 years old, I just started taking stuff apart and tinkering with things. Like I built my first computer when I was like 10. It's not that hard. It sounds impressive. It's really not. It's just like it's pretty self-explanatory. It's more just like precautions not to screw things up, and then you'll be fine. But then I've always just tinkered with stuff. I love taking stuff apart. When I was like, I think it was like 13 or 14, I took apart an old microwave I found behind a dumpster, and like I turned the transformer into a thing that would like melt metal, because I just wanted I just wanted to, and it was like a random microwave. I still have like the motor that turns the tray at the bottom, and I use that sometimes to like turn objects as I spray paint them. Yeah.
Wow.
I almost don't do it
That's
anymore.
awesome.
It's too much work. So I just like stick it in a big box and then spray paint. But anyway, yeah, I've just been like a tinkerer all my childhood. And then I went to school for when I was in high school. I did a lot more software side of things. So I learned Photoshop, Illustrator, like all those, like the Adobe Creative Suite. Learned how to video edit, learned how to 3D model. My computers teacher in high school was incredible. She is probably the person who is responsible for like a lot of who I am today. So like I don't know where I'd be without her. Actually, it's not even like she was like this amazing mentor, like, you know, Yoda from Star Wars or whatever. She just like kind of showed me the basics and everything and got me into it. And then from there on, it was just a lot of like self-teaching and self-learning. I went to school at NAIT for digital media and IT in the web development stream. So that was my first experience coding. And then I just fell in love with it. It was awesome. It's like literally learning a new language. So it was really, really cool. And then I specialized into user experience. And then that's kind of how I live my life now. It's just like I apply user experience to everything. And I like complain to my friend whenever something's like really hard to use. And I'm like, this is shit design. I hate it. Yeah.
Very cool. Okay. So what does Agriolabs do?
So currently we make a line of modular home automated gardens. So our goal is to automate the food production industry, or how we produce our food, in terms of like actually like growing vegetables, herbs, and that kind of stuff. But we don't do it on, I feel like a lot of like ag tech and like clean tech startups, they do it on this massive scale. Like the smallest scale I've seen is like they grow food in shipping containers. There's a lot of these startups doing that now. So we do what we've kind of coined the phrase hyper local. And that means that it's like local is like farmers market. And then like really, really local is like maybe in a parking lot, you've got a shipping container growing food. So hyper local is like in your cabinet kind of thing. It's like you don't even have to put on pants to get fresh herbs or veggies or anything like that. And that's the goal, right? It's like, so that's what we do right now is we produce this line. But do you want me to go into like future goals or?
Definitely. Let's do it.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't want to get carried away. But yeah, no, in the future, we do plan on doing commercial units. So for places like the Edmonton Convention Center and like those kind of like Rogers Place and stuff like that. We want to make systems that just hook right into the water line, that are just like completely automated. So like we cut out all the middlemen that throw out a bunch of food. Like one of our big missions is to eliminate food waste or do the best we can to reduce it. And by growing food hyper locally, so whether it's in your home or in these kind of like big like restaurants or buildings that they consume a lot, we cut out a lot of the middlemen who throw out food at every stage in the process of getting food from the farm to the table. Right? So, and then yeah, we like that's food waste is kind of like the first problem that we're dealing with. But Agriolabs is created. Well, initially that's all it was food waste. That was the problem I wanted to solve. But then I found that business can be used not just as a tool to sustain you and build an income, but as a tool to solve a lot of bigger problems in the world, especially if you're profitable. So I tell people a lot because they're like, well, kind of missions I'm about to tell you are kind of like things you would expect a nonprofit to take on. But the thing is, like, as a profitable company, we can do so much more than what a nonprofit asking for donations and handouts could do. Because we want to do things like build these big underwater vertical farms that clean the ocean and rebuild the kelp forests while producing land veggies inside. And then like I have this whole like very crystal clear picture of what it is in my head already. Like food will go from these underwater like towers, I guess, to land via like hyperloop, kind of like kind of like if you've ever been to Home Depot and they gotta send the receipts up to the office. There's like a vacuum chamber and they like put it in there, press a button, and goes like that. Yeah, kind of like that. Like that'd be really cool. But I got a lot of inspiration to do that just because I think like it's a ridiculous amount. It's a ridiculously large number, but a lot of the world's kelp forests are just disappearing, like just gone. And kelp is a really good, like, it's just really good for the environment. It's just really good. It absorbs a lot of carbon. Like, it's a really good habitat for fish and like and a lot of like ocean species that don't exist anymore because of the loss of habitat and stuff like that. So there's a whole other side of things I want to tackle. And then there's like, so that's like the medium term goal. That's like 5 to 10 years. And that's called Project Neptune. Like I think so far that sometimes I feel like my own team doesn't even know what the hell's going on. So I try to get them to focus on food waste right now and the main mission. But then eventually, like I'm thinking 20 to 50 years down the road, is like space exploration, deep space journeys, and like extraterrestrial colonies. So if you look at our products, like they're made to be really efficient in terms of space and resources, and that's the eventual like vision is that these will feed like a deep space journey where space and the actual space and the resources will be extremely limited, right?
That's
like
true.
And electricity and stuff like that.
So how did you get started with your initial idea? So your first.
Oh yeah, I should probably. Sorry about that. Totally carried away. Is it gonna focus? Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah, I should have probably have said that. So initially, I just moved out of my mom's place. I got my first apartment with my girlfriend. It was like this tiny basement suite, and we had like maybe one good window. The others are always like, really gross, and we had to keep them closed because of bugs and stuff. And I noticed that like I was just wasting like a ton of food. Like I never noticed it before when living in my mom's house because I guess it paid for it.
It makes a big difference. That's true.
Yeah, that's for sure. And food waste like really bugs me. My mom grew up in the Cultural Revolution in China, so she like grew up starving. Yeah, it was like really bad. And my mom's like, whenever I waste food, and my mom's like, she's like, I'm gonna send you to Africa. Just because
Go mom.
Yeah, that's just mom. Yeah, she's like one of those. I think there's like a generation of like Chinese like that have come here that remember those times and are like, you can't waste a single grain of rice because you know how long that it takes to grow that single grain of rice, like that kind of thing. So she's totally all about that mentality. So yeah, seeing that I like threw out like entire bunches of lettuce and stuff just because I forgot about it. It really sucked.
Yeah.
Because if you really think about it, your one head of lettuce like grows at the farm where they use a ton of land and a ton of water and a ton of resources and stuff. And then like every step, it's like a funnel. Like every step through the funnel, so like at the trucks, the distribution centers, the warehouses, everything, like some of that food gets thrown out.
Mm-hmm.
It finally gets to your home, and then you throw it out. It's kind of like, yeah, it's painful, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, maybe I should try to grow my own stuff. At least like start with something. And I was eating out a lot at OEB. It's a restaurant downtown Edmonton. There's a one in Calgary as well. Phenomenal place. Like one of my favorite restaurants in the city. It's insane.
It is super yummy.
Yeah, but I saw that they were growing their own microgreens, and like they were using it in a lot of their dishes. And I didn't think much about it at first, but then I did some more research into it, and I realized like microgreens are insane. Like they can be up to like 50 times the nutritional value of like full-grown plants, and the way they taste is like really intense compared to the full-grown varieties.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, that's a good one. Let me try that. And it was just horrible. I just did really bad. I don't have a green thumb. A lot of it was like let it dry out and then try to revive it.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah,
that doesn't work so well.
I'm quite a lazy person until it comes to automating something so I can be lazy. And then I'll work extremely hard on making something so I can be lazier in the future. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's really backwards. Yeah, like I say, I'm a lazy person, but here I am, like most nights, staying up till 4 or 5 in the morning. Like this is my to-do list from like 2 days ago. This is my to-do list for today. So
okay, so
these are this month's goals.
So you started, you tried it on your own, it didn't work, you decided to automate it.
Yeah.
How do you automate something like that?
Well, it's just like, it's pretty common sense, right? Plants need like 3 main things. It's like water, nutrients, and light. So just give it just give it to them. Like that's pretty self-explanatory, and a lot of like there's a lot of systems out there that already do it. Like it's nothing new to have like those smart garden units like aero gardens and whatnot on your countertop. Yeah. It's just like how you do it, right? I've got a tiny little apartment. My counter space, like if I got like another microwave, it would just disappear. It'd be gone. It was like usually just covered in random stuff. So I needed something that could just fit anywhere. And I needed something that would use space like this way, vertically. This way, right? Like we actually, even in the tiniest of homes, we have a lot more space than we think. It's just like homes aren't sold in volume, right? They're sold like in what's that area, right? Yeah. So yeah, I needed something that like I had a ridiculous amount of covers for some odd reason. So I was like, maybe something that could fit in a cupboard, maybe something that could fit in a closet. It just needed to go anywhere. Yeah. So yeah, I went with like a self-enclosed system, so I don't accidentally kick a bunch of random crap into my garden, if just in case it's on the floor somewhere. I don't want bugs. It was a basement apartment, and it was a building, so bugs are very like, yeah, there's a lot of them, and the last thing I want is to open my drawer and like go to harvest some veggies and a massive centipede crawls out. Yeah, no. Yeah, no, that's nope, that terrifies me.
I'm with you.
I hate centipedes. There's a lot of them, but anyway, yeah. I need something that would, I guess, like keep the moisture in as well, so I don't have to water it as much. So open systems, usually they have like a compartment for water. That's a little bit hard to clean just because like it's a compartment, like you gotta put it in there and stuff. So I didn't want that, so I just made the whole thing self-enclosed. Yeah.
Makes sense.
yeah, and then sorry, am I going off?
No,
No,
you're
okay,
exactly where
okay, yeah,
you need to be.
yeah. So um, I also needed it to be ventilated because too high humidity and you get mold, right?
Yeah.
So it needed to be able to move air. So threw a fan on it, and then like I had to redesign all the vents and stuff so that it was more discreet and it was actually very open while still trapping moisture in. Um, it was very difficult to get that part right because like I think most tech startups, like most tech founders, the way they think would just be like throw an Arduino, like a mini computer, and like a sensor on it, and then like turn on the fan whenever like humidity is like this or that, right? I want it to be extremely simple. Like I said, like I'm huge on like user experience, and I believe the more simple the better. Um, there's the chief of Apple design, Johnny Ives, took inspiration from this other guy, and the thing he said was the best design is often no design at all. Um, or I think maybe Einstein said this, but it was the best design is the simplest one that works. And so I really take that to heart. And I'm like, we don't need a sensor or a computer. We just need to get the vents right. We just need to have the vent, done right. So yeah, I think we probably had like 30 or 40 3D printed prototypes. Just
Oh, wow.
yeah, yeah, uh, yeah. Just vents is weird. But yeah, um, my best friend who I founded the company with, who is now my VP of engineering and well, product engineering, he came up with a really nice, really good product design after some guidance. Yeah, I'm the design person. He's just like the functional person. So when I first told him we need vents, he like, let's put a hole in the side of it. Like, no. uh, yeah. So now there's like a nice clean slit all around the top of it. It's almost like a halo. Um, but yeah, anyway, moving on. So yeah, the whole vertical aspect of it,
Yeah.
it can't just be a tower. I wanted it to be modular so that I could build it up to fit whatever space I wanted, just because it's all
Yeah.
about space. This whole thing is all about space. That's the main problem we're tackling here. The main reason it's different from everything else is that it uses space so efficiently. Um, like one of our popular competitors with their like big growing system, like in the same volume of air that thing takes up, we can fit 18 of our systems.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a
insane.
huge difference.
Yeah.
And
So
so with yours, so you have your modular system.
yeah.
How did your first prototype work? Did it go well?
Oh man, I think our first prototype was it was a box with some water at the bottom in a drawer, and we used like a hemp fiber mat. We sprinkled some seeds on it, and we I had this like kind of grow light that kind of looks like this, but doesn't.
Okay.
And we just cut a hole in the back of the box. We stuck that in, and we were like, let's see if it works. That was the first prototype. Yeah.
Ooh, all
Um,
right. And how did it work?
pretty well, pretty okay. But like it was like a ring light like this. So
Yeah.
obviously the microgreens, because they're so close that the pattern of light that you have, it affects the growth like dramatically. So the
Okay.
plants literally grew in a ring. So if you look at like microgreen farms, like a quick Google, you look at how people grow microgreens in the commercial space, the lights are always like this, like this far
Yeah.
from the actual plant, and that just allows the light to disperse evenly over all the plants. So they only need like one singular light source. Um, I didn't want something this tall.
Yeah.
It needed to be
Exactly.
about like this tall. So the lights are literally like just a few inches away from the plants. So I mean, there was just a ton of issues, a ton of problems that we had to solve resulting from that design choice. One is heat, right? We don't want the lights to just burn the plants. or cooked them before they're done. They're done
Yeah.
growing. The heat also affected every single thing on top of it. So all the other modules on top of it, since heat travels up, right? So it was a big headache getting that right. So the fan pulls double purpose. It cools the lights as well as provides ventilation. We experimented with almost like a dozen different light patterns.
Oh wow.
And so I think the ones we sold to Nate, that was the Founders Edition, or what we call, like, I guess 1.0. And that had like I guess it was like four light strips on top and like a diffusion layer. The version we have now uses half the amount of lights and half the amount of electricity, and it just uses a lot more reflective and refractive materials to diffuse it. Microgreens actually don't need that much light, but the more you give it, the less like lanky it is, and the more like strong and well structured it is with like broad leaves. Yeah. So we actually just have to use that light very, very efficiently. So with the use of mirrors, there's like some refractive materials, there's some like diffusive materials in there. Like one of the things I do is videography and photography. So all the shots that you see on the site and all the videos are all filmed and edited by me as well. Yeah, basically too, like everything.
That's very neat. Okay, so how long does it take a long time to grow them in your box?
No, it's actually a lot faster than usual. It's about 7 to 10 days for most things to reach harvest. Yeah. So, cool. Are you familiar with what microgreens actually are?
Yeah.
Okay.
But cool. for anyone listening, what are microgreens?
Yeah. So a lot of people see our product and they're like, "Oh, it grows sprouts, but I can do that in a mason jar." And yes, you can. Like, you can grow sprouts in a mason jar. That's like the easiest way to do it, and I don't think that it needs to be automated any further. But microgreens are different because they actually have their true leaves. So sprouts don't have their true leaves because there's no light on them. So some people see bean sprouts and they say they're sprouts, but actually, not bean sprouts, pea sprouts. And so pea sprouts are technically actually baby greens or like microgreens. They're not actually sprouts. Sprouts generally is just like it's just a white stem part with like this the seed innards on the end of it. I guess if you think of like a pea sprout where it's like yellow at the end and white stem, that's a sprout. Like a pea microgreen would actually have leaves, or like So that's the difference. So microgreens are like if sprouts are like here and like salad greens are here, microgreens are right in between. And that's when you get just the ridiculously high like nutritional density, and flavor. And it just worked out so well to use this because it's everything that the micro is like our product is called the micro. I have a mini one. But it's a very low space requirement and very high impact. So that's what we want our products to be. So it's like low space, low resource requirement, but high impact. And microgreens just fit that super well. And it grows it in about 7 to 10 days, like 24 to 48 hour, 48 to 72 hour like sprouting period. And then from then on, it's just growth. Yeah.
That's neat. And is it hard to clean after you?
Yeah, that's a really common question. Yeah. So this is like a mini version of a really old prototype, but it demonstrates the point. So the micro actually works on a drawer system. So all the plants would actually go in here. So this is like an old design where we had to raft. We actually might go back to it. I don't know. I have to talk with my guys. But essentially, all you'd be cleaning is this here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then sometimes seeds or whatever falls into the water reservoir, which is down here. So you just give that a quick rinse. and that's about it. Like,
Wow.
because the fat in it keeps everything else relatively dry, there's no mildew, or like the sides don't get wet enough for it to really mold or anything. That's like one of our big benefits, is that even though it's a self-enclosed system, it's really hard to get mold in it. I mean, unless you leave it for like, a month, then
Yeah, you may not want to do that.
yeah, that's why I like recommend people, like, it only takes 7 to 10 days to harvest. I mean, to grow. So try to harvest it within like 14 days, or else you just get a
Okay.
green brick, because it's like, it's enclosed, right? So they just keep growing. Yeah.
Now that could be a little interesting, a little forest.
Yeah, I know. I've had like oh man, like the amount of times I've had overgrowth just because I'm like, no, I don't want to harvest it yet. I want to take pictures first, and then it just stays in there for like 2 to 3 weeks, and it gets to the point where I have to like press down on the greens to like close the door back up. So I'm like, yeah, just harvest it and throw it in your fridge. Yeah. So yeah, you can when you harvest, just harvest with like some scissors or a knife, a clean knife, um, and you can just store it in a Ziploc bag with like a napkin to keep it nice and dry.
Yeah.
And it'll last in your fridge for another couple of weeks.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you are just finished your first Kickstarter?
We're not finished. We're still going.
Oh, still going.
Yeah, it's only
Okay.
been about like, when we launched on the, was like the 14th. Yeah, so it's been just over a week. Yeah, it's been about 10 days. So we still have like 20 days to go or so. Yeah, and we're currently sitting at around 22.6K when last time I checked. We reached our goal in 20 hours. Yeah, so our goal was 10K. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, it blew me away. It's just, it's totally just like the community. That first 10K, I don't think was a lot of like Kickstarter like backers. A lot of it was just local community. So like the Modu Center at Nate, some people from there, like they supported me. Yeah, just like mentors I've had in the web development side of things, friends and family, like friends of friends. Yeah, like there's a lot of jokes about like, giving up on humanity, but no, I think humanity is destined for great things, just because we do a lot of things like this. We always find a way to come together and support each other. So believing in that is important, I think, especially in these times.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Okay, so your first goal was 10,000. What are you hoping to raise so that you guys can really get this moving forward?
Yeah, so our internal goal is like anywhere from 25 to 50K. But I'm personally really hoping for 100K. Like the thing about Agriolabs is, it's like I've been here since I was like 4. I moved here from Hong Kong, and basically we came here with essentially nothing. And this country and its people, and I mean, especially this province and this city and its people have basically helped us come to where we are now. So I want to give back, and I want to keep more money in Canada and bring, I want to help improve the economy and contribute to it. So we're completely vertically integrated. We have some partner companies, but they're also in Alberta. So all of our hemp fiber is sourced from Drayton Valley, and that's what we grow all our seeds on. So all the microgreens and stuff like that is on hemp fiber, and we provide what we call seed pads, which are seeds embedded in this hemp fiber with a organic rice glue we created, and then sealed off with a light blocking layer, and that just allows it so that you literally place a seed pad in, add water, forget about it. Because otherwise you would need to like mist it all the time, and you need to like like add weight and like block light from, yeah, it's a whole lot of work without it's not a tremendous more amount of work, but it's definitely easier with a seed pad. But anyway, sorry, yeah, so we make everything ourselves as well, so all our manufacturing is in-house. Almost everything is 3D printed. So not only do we 3D print things in-house, we actually have our own material. We'll be making our own material. So that's part of the Kickstarter, was to get the actual machine that takes the raw material and turns it into printable material. Because our boxes, our grow boxes are made out of like just about like 85% bioplastic right now. So the plastic is derived from like vegetable starches and stuff like that. In your home, it should last like forever. But in like landfills and stuff like that, it should decompose in about 3 to 5 years. It's not super quick, but it's definitely a lot quicker than like the 1,000 years of other petroleum-based.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You really have thought through so many levels.
Yeah. So it's attention to detail down to the last molecule, right? So that's kind of how I like to do things. But we need to make our own material, not just for the whole sustainability and economic factor, but just because that normal PLA material, is what it's called, the bioplastic, is not extremely resilient to certain things. It's a little bit brittle. It's one of the strongest 3D printable materials, but it's a little bit brittle. So we want to reduce that brittleness, and we want to increase the durability in terms of coming into contact with microbes and organic matter, because it is a biopolymer. Right? So the additives we put in may make the like the biodegradability, like the biodegrading time, like maybe a bit longer, like 5 to 10 years. But at the end of it, like still better than 1,000 years.
It's biodegrading.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Because some people, they hear that we're 3D printing and they're a little bit concerned, and I actually want to address that. They think that 3D printing is just for prototyping and like, cool little toys and gadgets and stuff. But it's actually the next industrial revolution. The way we make things right now is quite wasteful. So we do a lot of like what's called like reductive manufacturing. So you take material away. So whereas 3D printing is additive manufacturing, you actually just add material layer by layer, right? And we're not the only company that thinks it's the next industrial revolution. Like Boeing, probably heard of them, big things that fly in the sky. Yeah, so they've actually gone to 3D printing for a lot of the parts that are just very difficult or very expensive to manufacture in their planes. And yeah, so they I mean, if they do it, why can't we? Like literally aerospace, right? 3D printing allows us to have designs that would be completely impossible if we were to use any other manufacturing technique. Just absolutely impossible. There's vents and stuff and like electrical harnesses built right into the design that don't need extra parts, just built right in, just printed as is. Completely impossible any other way. But yeah, we're just gonna spend quite a bit of time developing our own proprietary material so that it does meet, I guess, the expectations of a finished product. And we are going to have a finishing process that's going to eliminate nearly all the layer lines that you see. So layer lines are common with 3D printing just because things are built layer by layer. But yeah, we will have a finishing process that makes those basically invisible. You won't even be able to tell. But at the end of the day, it uses a lot less electricity, a lot less materials, even scrap that like failed prints and stuff like that. We just grind it back up and reprint it. So it's sustainability like really all throughout the entire process. It's really one of the core pillars I want to build this company on. Just because the more sustainable, the longer we can keep going, right? So
I can't believe how much you've had to learn to do this. It's insane.
Yeah, it's a lot of it's honestly just bugging whatever experts will talk to me and teach me. Like just the other day, I was like bugging one of my members on my founding team. I was like, "Hey, you have time for Fungi 101?" like this mycology expert. He's like, what? We're making something for mushrooms now? I'm like, no, not necessarily, but you want to learn? I'm like, you want to learn the inner workings of mushrooms? So
why not?
yeah, like, it's like if there's an expert willing to talk to us and willing to teach me, oh, I'm all ears. But also just Google University, right? Like it's 2020. Like you don't have to go to school to be an expert on something, especially something that's very specific. Like I always tell the story, but like I needed to understand exactly how water tension works, like the very physics of it, like, and say like 50 years ago, like that would have been, nights in the library. It took me like maybe 1 or 2 hours just Googling around, maybe like 10, 15 links on Google. And like I understood it down to the molecule after, and I was able to build some pretty cool, make some pretty cool design changes to, like the actual problem we were having was this raft design. So the one we might go back to, essentially this floats on the water and the plants are on top of it. And as the water level goes down, the plants take up that room. So it's a very actually ingenious way of doing things that actually the Aztecs did first. But the problem was getting it off. Because it's a flat surface, there was so much water tension, it was basically impossible to pull it off.
Oh yeah, it would kind of suction it.
Yeah, exactly. Like basically like a suction cup. So I had to make some changes, curve the edges around, put a release hole. Just like really, really small things that you almost wouldn't notice, but basically eliminated completely. I put a slit down the middle. Yeah, it was just like things like that. You just go learn the basics of how the problem is caused, I guess, and then just fix it.
Yeah, you are definitely an innovator. That is fantastic. All right, so last question. So what else do you think our community should know about you and Agriolabs?
Oh man. Yeah, I like rambled a lot, so I basically said almost everything. But yeah, Agriolabs is a mission-based company. So whereas a lot of companies who also do consumer electronics, their goal is to maybe release 1 or 2 products a year, and that's like their goal. And that's like our goal too, is to release products, but it's not just for the sake of releasing products to make money. That's a big part of it, but it's actually like, what do we do next to fulfill this mission? So right now it's the micro, grows microgreens in 7 to 10 days with basically no effort. Next in the food waste mission is the macro. So this is something I've been teasing on the Kickstarter with some of our backers, and they're super excited for it. But it's essentially a taller version of the micro. It will grow you a full head of lettuce inside of it, and like green onions, rosemary, whatever you want. It doesn't matter. You have fun with it. But we have some interesting ways of doing it that are completely different from, because this is getting pretty similar to like some of the countertop grow units, right? But it'll stack right on top of the micro, use the same power source, everything. Oh yeah, I should probably mention the micro stacks on top of a power plate, and then the power plate powers the entire stack above it, and you can just keep stacking on top. I think one power plate right now does 4 micros. The macro might take the power of 2 micros. But yeah, anyway, sorry. It's basically a necessity for any modular design. It uses USB-C, so it's really easy to use. Anyway, the macro, I've got plans for it to be a completely like medium-free growing solution. So you won't need dirt, you won't need like not even hemp fiber, you won't need anything. The plants will just, I can't see that these are the exact details right now. But I'm planning on the plant's roots to just wrap around a column, like a textured column, where the column will actually sprout water as well. So it's just like like super efficient. Like it's down to like the last drop of water that we want to conserve, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, we want to just feed the roots directly. But yeah, and we want to have a self-pollination system, so that you can have like strawberries and different berries in there and stuff. Um, so yeah, like right now, if you want berries and any other, home gardening, you either throw it outside and hope a bee comes by, or you get these weird mutant plants by using a Q-tip and trying to pollinate it yourself. So yeah, I was thinking, what else pollinates in nature? Well, wind. Right? Okay, why don't we just have a mini tornado in there? So
I look forward to seeing how this works out.
yeah, yeah, I'm really excited to work on that actually. But first,
I can tell.
Yeah, first we need to get. Yeah, we're just in the starting phases. Like it's been a year in the making, but yeah, it feels like everything's finally just getting started. It's kind of crazy. We're getting a warehouse pretty soon here. We're gonna start making our own material and moving all our printers in there, everything. But yeah, like that's food waste mission, right?
That is fantastic.
From then on, we're gonna have people hired to work on this, and we're gonna move on to the next mission. And that's how I kind of want to run the company, right? Solve big problems with dope tech.
That is very neat. Well, as you move on to your next mission, definitely keep in touch, because I know that I will look forward to interviewing on those ones.
Yeah, 100%. I'm totally down. All the